I want to say hello to everybody that may be watching this this brief clip. I'm here in Alexandria, Virginia, at the first American Equal Shared Parenting Conference. It's the first conference that I've been to since the Children's Rights Council conferences that I organized and which concluded 2008. This is a momentous occasion for me, an alpaca, an old-timer with more gray hair, coming back to D.C. where it all began, and meeting people, as you can see, who are beginning to come in from all over the country and wanting to very much make changes in their state laws so that they and others will be able to have access to their children because laws are not enforced or laws don't exist, or because of the corruptions that are frequently found in the system, very sadly. But it's so energizing to meet people who are committed, who are really desiring of making changes and are very honest and authentic in their being here and sacrificing time and money, expense, and health in order to make our society a far more improvement for our children. Everything that happens in family courts, everything that happens in dependency courts is affecting generations. And if we want to improve those outcomes, then we must all act. And those of you I would appeal to you who, as I was 20 years ago when I had less gray hair, I wanted very much to make change or to kill myself. And I was directed by my sister in going for my PhD and making a difference by working in Washington, which I did. And I think that we need to encourage everyone and ourselves to continue to make changes that are positive and to hold courts accountable and hold our legislators also accountable in affecting this generation and future generations by allowing access and encouraging access to our children in ways that are loving and nurturing and true. And so with that in mind, I want to thank you all. Please tune in to the conference that is going live at 12 noon today until 7 p.m. And there are a myriad of speakers addressing different aspects of their own lives and their own work in advocacy. And you will be inspired and perhaps making those changes yourself in your own state.
Dr. Mark, one question for you, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
You've talked a lot about children, but I know you've also talked about the grandparent-grandchild relationship.
Yes.
Can you address that just a little bit?
Yes, I will. Thank you. There is a grandparents movement that has been for more than 20 years, and there are very few states that do acknowledge the rights of grandparents to be in their grandchildren's lives. And it should be that the grandparents, who are the immediate extended family, be assured of that right even when cases go to family court to be adjudicated or when they go into mediation to look at custody decisions for parenting plans. You cannot avoid, should not, and it's up to the attorneys and the mediators, and I am a mediator, to keep families on point and to include the role of grandparents in their children's lives, because this is a generational issue, and children also need to know where they come from as well as where they're going. And there's such insecurity that they have that the impact with a grandparent's absence is unforgivable. Grandparents today, through efforts as Jeff Morgan and other advocates around the country, are fighting on the state level because, sadly, the Supreme Court, the federal Supreme Court, has not permitted grandparents to have rights. But the states, there are some states who are truly progressive and have made some efforts in their laws to permit grandparents, and particularly if a child is removed from a home because of an abuse or neglect or malnourishment situation, grandparents should be the first in line automatically, and in many cases they are, but in most cases they are not. So the roles of grandparents must be clear, they must be defined, they must be included, and they must be involved in their children's lives for the children's mental health as well as for the the great significance in understanding who they are. And I'm hopeful that all of us will be working together on complete family issues in order to make children outcomes far more improved, and society as a whole have the commitment to seeing that we do not implode. Because, friends, our society is imploding. We have an opportunity to stop that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Do you think the Title IV-D money has any consequences in children's lives?
I don't know enough to comment on it, but I think if we begin from an attitude of what the research tells us is correct, what will be the changes that need to be made in child custody decision making, then that has nothing to do with money. That has everything to do with attitude. It has everything to do with belief and commitment and a true understanding of what our society needs to know in order to move forward.
Dr. Mark, can I ask you one more question?
Yes,
then?
of course.
So, and maybe this is out of your area of expertise.
Yes.
But I was reading a judge who said that out of 4,000 divorce cases that she presided over, she felt that over 50% of them, it was the cry of a person asking the state for help. And when the no-fault divorce went through, they were shocked. They did not want that. And I've read another study. It's done by William Daugherty and William Ward Sears.
Yeah.
And they've said even people deeply involved in the process, 40% of them are saying, wait a minute, can we pull back? And sometimes even both people want to pull back, but yet once you get involved in the legal system, it's kind of like, if you're swimming against the tide. What is your opinion about that? I know you've seen a lot of things in your work, but can you give me an opinion on that?
Yes. There have not been many studies, but there have been studies to show that of those people who have gone into court with divorce actions, that among survey of those that had divorce, they found that better than 10% of their sample said that they would have wanted to stay in their marriage. That if they had the opportunities and the support, and if they had the confidence that in fact they could work towards maintaining their relationship, that they would have. We believe that the statistics are far higher than that.
Right.
And William Daugherty, he's from Minnesota. And he said at a conference I remember maybe 15 or more years ago, that it only takes one person to make a change in a relationship. You don't need, and I'm an advocate of family therapy, I'm an advocate of systems,
right?
But it only takes one person to make a change. As we know, why do we want to run from a relationship? Why don't we stay and fight towards a relationship? Because we can't handle certain changes that may have occurred in that relationship.
Right.
So absolutely, we need to do more. And once they go, and once you sell yourself, you've bought a representative in the legal field to help you at your time of need, and boy, they will rub salt into the wound, and depending upon how much money you have, and they will continue to widen instead of taking a look at what other options are.
Right.
There are some attorneys who are, I would call, the black sheep in the field, and in fact, there are 4 or 5 of them at this conference.
Yes.
And these are the ones that need our support because they are alone.
Yes.
And we need to do everything to help change the attitudes of the legal profession.
Do you also think as well that perhaps the state has a responsibility to not make divorce such an easy evidence-free I'm out? Because you see this when the family breaks down, what happens to the kids, the grandkids, and they become the victims. And sometimes you would say the state should be able to stand up there and say, why are you victimizing these kids? These kids are going to become taxpayer responsibilities. The taxpayer burden for broken families is huge. Nobody talks about it. But so to me, I would say the state needs to start to stand up and say, listen, we need to fix this problem. This is the problem. We understand that there will be some divorce, but if we can minimize divorce, if we can keep families together, the benefits to society, the benefits to the kids, to the grandkids, to the grandparent relationship, to the father-mother-child relationship would be immense. School shootings. I mean, people talk about school shootings, and I understand that there's different philosophical reasons about that.
Right.
But so many of the shooters come from broken families. That is a common denominator throughout so many of those shootings. And so to me, I think it's a little bit hypocritical to just talk about these issues, but not talk about the things that cause the problem.
I think, you know what, can I respond?
Absolutely.
That is a tremendous question, and that is really the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
What about intervention for people that are at risk? What about intervention for those that are in crisis? That needs to be done.
Yeah.
And before one goes to an attorney, there should be another step.
Absolutely.
There should be another step, because you've created Mount Vesuvius once you've hit the
legal system.
attorneys. And in fact, I say going to family court is going to the Roman Colosseum. Why? Because the judges don't necessarily and consistently follow law, and because of the liaisons and the relationships that are built within the legal system, and also those who are from the mental health professions who have roots there. To deny that exists is wrong, but to understand that once people enter the divorce process, they're creating havoc. They're creating havoc.
Yeah.
However, statistically, about 60% do have some type of amicable relationship, but the strong 40% do not. Those are the high conflict. Now, if you take a look at, and to share a couple statistics, if I may.
Absolutely.
Okay, in public schools, 40% of public school children come from single-parent households. Now, consider this: 40% of public school children are taking medication for ADD and ADHD. And now consider this: that less than 2/3 of kids in high school have graduated high school, which means that over 1/3 of kids in high school are not graduating. They may graduate within 5 years by going to some alternative online approach. But if you look at traditional high school, if you look at the aberrations of behaviors that kids have with the not only the low self-esteem and the bullying, but you have such severe indices of out of wedlock births. You have juvenile crime, which, by the way, is higher for women, for females, than it is for males. And if you look at the rate of abuse, what I found in my research, and I detail a lot of this in my book, Preserving Family Ties, just published, but that has the social research on child outcomes. But if you look at the rate of abuse, and you compare juvenile or household youth abuse to that of elder abuse, you know that elder abuse is increasing,
right?
Because people they know that they're more accountable, right, for their child abuse, even though kids are still being hit. And there's a lot of cultural issues why people spank their children, but in terms of deliberately withholding food and physically harming them, sexually abusing them, this is outrageous. This has no place in family court, because these people need therapy or imprisonment.
Yeah.
But there are many factors that lead into worsening family situations. When with no-fault divorce, it has opened up the industry, sadly. And unless we have interventions that go along with child access litigation, then I fear we're going to continue to perpetuate the downfall of our society.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because no-fault divorce was actually sold that there would be an intervention that would be in there, because no-fault divorce was actually supposed to reduce divorce. And what did it do? It just created a whole industry, and an abuse industry. I call it the family destruction and abuse industry.
It is. I'm a targeted parent. Why did I want to kill myself 20 years ago? It wasn't a divorce. It was the loss of my children.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was great to see you, talk with you again, see you again.
Thank you.
Looking forward to hearing you later on today, too.
I'm delighted for your time and your work, and we're in this together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Dr. Mark Roseman, right? Did I say it right, or is Roseman or Roseman?
Roseman.
Roseman. Okay, I got it wrong last time.
I've been called worse, and I usually am.
Tell us about your organization for people, so we can direct them there.
Thank you. Well, I was an advocate working on the national scene with the Children's Rights Council for many years. 10 years ago, I introduced the Toby Center for Family Transitions. And this is an agency that provides multiple services for parents going through separation, divorce, and child custody. Our biggest programs are supervised visitation, non-clinical, followed by our clinical programs, which include therapeutic visitation, family therapy, reunification therapy. And we're based in Florida. We expect soon to be going to Toledo, Ohio, where I've been asked for DCF out there to build a clinical program that they have desperately need
Wow.
for. So I'm really honored by that, and hopefully we'll get the funding for it. But our agency is one that can be replicated. And if there are people watching this video, if they feel that there are needs for these services, then please contact me. I would like very much to bring the Toby Center, to your community where the needs might be, to help reassure and provide a continuing relationship between parents and children.
Thank you for being solution-centered. Thank you.